Well, for most of us, that's been about 1 week of our probable 18-month quarantine of sorts. How are you dealing with your cabin fever? This is Kevin Hanwei with Fight Designer LLC. Welcome back! Today I took out my aggression on some ivy in the yard and some milk jugs that I've been hoarding for a while. Milk jugs are kind of the traditional poor American person's substitute for tatami, because rolled up tatami mat is the traditional Japanese cutting equivalent for limbs, but it's expensive. Whereas, you know, if you just have a garage that you can throw all your empty milk jugs in for a few months, like I've been doing, that's free. This is a trick that I started doing when I was in Bujinkan Ninpo Tairutsu. We'd use them for knife cutting. The thicker, like, juice bottles tend to not work as well, but the gallon and half-gallon milk jugs work just fine. You don't want water in them because that helps weight it down enough that it gives a little resistance. If it's empty, it just goes flying because there's nothing to hold it there, no pushback. But if you fill it up with water, supposedly, as somebody who's never actually lopped off a limb or a head, thankfully, that's supposed to be a decent equivalent for cutting into flesh. Now, you can go on YouTube and you can find people who take this cutting practice much more seriously. You can look up the cold steel videos and they're hacking into sides of pigs and things like that. You know, they get carcasses from the butcher shop and chop them up. I don't have the money for that. So what can I do? I get some cheap PVC pipes, mold milk jugs. Good enough to go. It's sort of the poor person's tatami. So, let's have some fun. Hey, another decent day out and I'm getting kind of sick of being stuck in the house, so I thought I'd come and do a little cutting practice. I realized I still have a number of blades that are sharp. I haven't blunted them all for stage use yet, so let's take a look. I'm going to kind of compare I guess 4 different blades today. The first is the one that you saw a little peek of, with one that I tested earlier. And this is probably the nicest and most expensive of my cutting blades, which is an Angus Trim two-hander, which has a beautiful heft to it. So we'll start with this, and then I'll kind of work our way through and see what happens. Full disclaimer, I am a stage guy. I'm not a HEMA guy. I haven't done a lot of cutting practice, so, you know, dare to try something new and learn something new, even if it means looking a little bit stupid. I know I've got some very experienced team of folks on my Facebook friends list and YouTube subscribers, so feedback welcome. I am not too proud to to accept correction. Well, that worked. All right, up next, this is a Tinker Line hand and a half or bastard sword. Now, this is their Hanwei Tinker Line that you can swap out the blades between the blunt and the sharp, which is one of the things I like. So I have a number of these with the blunt blades that I've customized, the hilts and all, for stage use. But this will give me a chance to kind of feel what it's like to use a sharp, and then if I wanted to, I could swap out for a blunt on the same hilt. Yeah, see, there's a little tail there that's stuck. Just do that. From here to there. So let's try that. There. And we're going to go from here. Try one of those. So from here. That was clean. Alright, so next, this is a relatively new one to me. Frankly, the windlass ones just don't hold up very well. So I was looking for who else makes something that might. And I have had decent luck with cold steel in the past also. the Dutch Cloang style cutlasses. When I've blunted those down, they've worked better than and held up better than the cold steel, or sorry, than the windlass. But yes, cold steel does ship things sharp, so you do have to grind them down. Recently posted a video on how to do stuff like that. I've already done it with one of these. So we'll see how this goes. So this is not actually a Civil War saber, but most theater audiences aren't going to know the difference. This is a French Napoleonic saber. Here, right by. Get your hanging parry. It's not that fast to cut, but it's got some weight to it, so it carries through anyway. Let's see if we can get one more out of this. Take a little nip out. As you can see, shaved off a little bit. A little bit. Well, this is fun. Didn't get on the camera, did I? No, good. And now I think I'll go ahead and make this cutting test just like myself, 1/4 Japanese. So now our next one up. This is a katana. This is a clay-tempered carbon steel katana that was a semi-custom ordered off eBay, frankly. Chinese maker. Well, that worked well. Oh, I cut part of the cap. That's pretty good control. So that was fun. Obviously, you know, do this, if this is something that you are inclined to partake in, you do so at your own risk. These are sharp swords. I briefly let one of my kids handle one, and I had to keep an eagle eye on him and be very careful because one backswing with a sharp sword will ruin your day, and this is not the kind of time when you want to have to go to the hospital. So, just be careful out there, folks. You know. So why do we test cut? You know, the HEMA folks have a number of answers, and there's, you know, test cutting competitions. There's tomeshigiri and katana work, where you're cutting rolled up tatami that's supposed to simulate basically lopping off limbs. Part of it as an actor, part of it is about developing sense memory of knowing what it's like to actually have something to go for. You know, talking to people who do motion capture, like just swinging a pool noodle doesn't do it. But if you have a target, you know, if you can swing that pool noodle at a balloon and actually have something to aim for and impact and get a little kinetic response, your performance is going to be much better, even if they never see what you're actually cutting at. So I think it can be useful in that sense. Blade control and blade alignment, just to make sure there's no sloppy, like flat blade slappy kind of stuff happening or weird scoops, right? It's just a nice way to kind of test your technique and test your control. And to remind you periodically to take these things seriously. So whether we're talking practice with real firearms and then applying that to stunt or theatrical firearms, whether we're talking cutting practice with sharps and then going back to stage combat with blunt blades, even like, you know, lighter aluminum blades or bamboo blades. I think it reminds you to take these things seriously. It reminds you, oh yeah, this thing that we're treating as a toy and it's kind of fun, it's good to step back every now and again and remember, like, oh yeah, that could have been my neck. These things are not toys. They were not designed to be toys. Depending on the genre you're creating, they're probably not meant to be treated as toys by the characters. So I do think it can be helpful and behoove us, that's the word I was looking for, behoove us sometimes to get out there and play with some sharp blades. I'm in the basement, that's my laundry. Play with some sharp blades and just remind yourself what these things actually are capable of. But please do so carefully. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and I'll figure out something to say next time. Hang in there, everybody. All right.